I'm Bobby Tillman, President of the Sachse Historical Society, and I'm recording this conversation with Dr. Vinson, Superintendent of the Wylie Independent School District. We are recording this at the Wylie ISD office. This recording is intended to be included in the archives of the Sachse Historical Society. Our goals include preserving the history of our community by recording people, places, and events relevant to our community. The Wylie Independent School District is important to the city of Sachse in large part because approximately 25% of the residents of the city in the city limits of Sachse reside in the Wylie ISD. As Superintendent of the Wylie ISD, Dr. Vinson leads the team of teachers and staff who educate a large portion of our students in Sachse. That didn't tire us out too much, but that kind of yes. Thank you, Dr. Vinson, for allowing us to do this today. And first, we want to make sure it's okay with you for us to record this conversation and to use it on the Sachse Historical Society's website and in other forms of media. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Would you please give us your name and your position here at the school?
David Vinson, Superintendent for the Wylie Independent School District.
Okay. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your wife and your family and your children? And
I would love to do that. My family includes my wife, Christy. We have been married for 22 years. We met at Texas Tech, and she's from East Texas. She's from Tyler. I have a son, Cal, who is an 8th grader at McMillan Junior High School, and I have a 7th grader, Kate, who is also a 7th grader at McMillan Junior High School.
all in Wylie.
All in Wylie.
This, would you tell us a little bit about where you were born, where you grew up?
I would. I grew up in Dalhart, which is the tip top of the Panhandle, 30 miles, 40 miles from New Mexico, 40 miles from Oklahoma. And it was a remote place, but offered a great opportunity to get the Texas lifestyle, you know, ranches, those kind of things. So you really got the Texas experience. I graduated from Dalhart High School and went to Texas Tech University. After 4 years, I got my bachelor's in business administration. Worked for Frito-Lay for a couple of years, and then actually went to get my my master's in education because I really wanted to be around kids more than I wanted to work in the corporate world. And so here we are.
You went to Tech, is that where you got your...
I got my undergraduate, master's, and PhD from Texas Tech.
Oh, good school, yeah. You mentioned something about your job. You had, there's some jobs that you had maybe as a child or some of the things that you were working at in school that you enjoyed? Or
I've enjoyed every job I've had. You know, that when you asked that question, it made me think back to my paper route, which when I was a 4th, 5th grader, I started a paper route and taught me all the responsibilities and things that are necessary to have this job. But when I graduated from college, got a degree in business, was in the business world for a couple of years, and now I've combined my acumen for business with my love for children and do this job, so it all works together.
What, in all that process, what led you to get into the management of the educational systems and then the superintendent here? What led you kind of...
Well, you know, my heart's always been with children, and with that in mind, I wanted to find a way where I could truly find both and use both my love for business with my love for children, and how I could do that together. So I taught and then was offered an opportunity to be a high school principal. I was a high school principal at age 25 at a small school in West Texas called Rawls High School, about the size of the community. And then I moved to Friendship, where I was an intermediate school principal, then assistant superintendent for instruction, which means teaching and learning. And then I moved to the San Antonio area, where I became a superintendent for Floresville ISD, which is about 30 miles outside of San Antonio, between San Antonio and Corpus Christi. Was there 6 years, and then was offered the opportunity or a chance to interview here, and chances have it, God's will, I'm here.
Would you tell us a little bit about your time here at the Wylie ISD and some of the things that, you know, that the accomplishments that you and the school district have made since you've been here?
Well, absolutely. 5 of the best years of my life. We've enjoyed living in Wylie. During our time here, Wylie ISD has been recognized as the highest achieving school district in terms of growth in Texas. With that also, we have about 500 to 600 new students a year, and so that has required us to pass 2 bond elections worth about $120 million to build new facilities and renovate and upgrade our facilities to accommodate new students. With that also, probably more than anything, we have incorporated a program we call the Wylie Way, which is our social emotional plan to help our kids learn the values that are important to our community. And with that, our kids are learning and becoming an active member of our society, and how they care, how they give, how they become responsible and respectful students.
I noticed a picture of the new school over
Absolutely.
there. That's How many?
George W. Bush Elementary School.
Where's that going to be built?
That's going to be built in St. Paul. You know, Wylie ISD is, of course, part of Sachse, and Murphy, Wylie, St. Paul. A little bit of, yeah. So we're actually going to build that out there and looking forward to that 950 student school.
Wow. What other schools are planned? We have 2 high schools now, correct?
We do, Wylie East and Wylie High. And we have 19 campuses. This will bring us to 20. We have currently 11 construction projects going on simultaneously at this point.
Oh, wow.
Building on or building new.
Keeps you busy, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, how have you seen the school district change since you've been here, and then maybe looking down the future a little bit, what do you envision that Wylie might do? I mean, besides just building new schools to accommodate new people, are there other, you mentioned some of the programs you've implemented here, and
Well, you know, one of the things I like about Wylie is Wylie. And sometimes superintendents come in and they want to change everything, and I love the traditional values that Wylie has introduced. And my main goal, my main focus is to keep Wylie to feel like a small town. And that's the will and the wish of our current city leaders and the gist of our community, that they want to keep these common, very conservative values a big part of what we do and who we are. And so I'm not saying I'm resistant to change, but I want when change happens to us to not forget our foundational values that make Texas great, that make Wylie great. And when we grow, to be cognizant of that and to know that that's what has made us great and what's going to make Wylie ISD greater in the future. And I include Sachse. I really believe that we're all a part of that, feeling that those are the things that are going to make us great and build towards the future. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll probably have, we have about 14,600 students now. We'll probably have 15,200 next year. We'll end up having about 20,000 students. And so we'll have to grow and accommodate the growth with that.
so about 500 a year, I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
About what that's well, you know, obviously this area, people like it, or they wouldn't be moving here, they'd be leaving.
Yeah, you know, actually Wylie is the 12th fastest growing school district in our region, the Dallas-Fort Worth
Sure.
region. So, you know, we're growing quickly.
Well, I think you've answered this question, but do you feel this area is a good place to live or work, and would you encourage folks to move here?
You know, we moved here with one purpose, and that's to raise our children. And we really believe that if you want to be a part of who we are, you're going to love it here. I mean, but it's definitely one of those things that you have to want to be a part of. And yeah, I think that if you like conservative values, if you like the hometown feel that produces, if you want to have both the benefit of being in a big city but a small town, this is the place to be. Now, if you're really metropolitan and you want to be high rises and that stuff, this is not your place. But that's not that's not what me and the Vinson family are about.
Well, you have a good rapport with your staff. I've seen you interact with them on many occasions, and that's a blessing to have someone that has an affinity, you know, for closeness. And you know, I mean, obviously you got to keep this, but I mean, to be able to associate with the staff like you do, and you know, that's a blessing.
Well, I mean, I call them family because they are.
Kind of are. Yeah, you're here more than you are anywhere else.
You sure are.
What do you consider were your most challenging events while you've been here at the Wylie ISD?
You know, we've had a couple of challenging events. We had a student death that involved a murder of a student that was incredibly tumultuous at Wylie East High School. That didn't happen at Wylie East, but the students that were involved there. And you know, the craziest and the worst part about it is that those kids had never been in discipline trouble before. And those kids went to my church, and those kids were a part of who we were. And so over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a big focus on what we could do to understand and encourage kids not to take drastic measures to seek permanent, you know, solutions to very temporary problems.
They don't realize sometimes that those are permanent.
You know what I'll say though is that event could have broken us apart, but I think our values helped us make us a stronger community because we rallied around each other.
Well, I was mentioned to Johnny before you came in about some events, and I had seen you on the media, the news and stuff, and I think that it sums it up really well. You know, it could have broken everything apart, but you and the leadership here managed to keep it all in a tragic situation under control. Didn't turn out, I shouldn't say positive, but it became
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, we grew from it. We moved through it. We love the families that were affected and the families that aren't. You know, the boy who died, he is I have him pictures of all the kids in my family, my 2 children, my wife, but I also have a picture of him, so I never forget that because he's part of our family and that we try to remember him.
So that's not right. Would you tell us a little about any other organizations you have outside maybe the school district that you're associated with or that you enjoy working with?
Well, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I love helping Boy Scouts whenever I can. I am a member of our church down in First Baptist in Wylie, actually, and a member and strong and good standing there. And then I work with a lot of national leaders in character education. I think that one of the things that we miss and where we're kind of veering away from, and while we've lost our way a bit, is because we're not holding on to the core ethical values that made our country feel great. And so my life's work has been to try to perpetuate those values in a small situation like our school district and maybe a larger situation nationally. So I work with a lot of people across the nation to do that.
What do you feel the school system here in Wylie is doing well, and what do you think it could do better? You kind of mentioned.
Well, I would say this: we take every kid one kid at a time. And I mean, I can talk about the research and all the different academic accolades that we get, but I believe that I just got finished spending 30 minutes with a mentor kid of mine, and I spend 30 minutes a week with him, and we have 300 individuals in Wylie that do that, Wylie ISD that do that, from Sachse, from Murphy, from Plano, that come in and help our kids. And what we do well is taking care of every kid individually. And I think that's our success. And the moment we forget that that's important is the moment we fail.
It's a good program to deal with. The children need a good leader, someone they can look up to and be a mentor for. That's a blessing.
It's critical.
Okay. We've been told that the school system must teach children starting at early ages to be ready and prepared for things they will encounter when they graduate. Many of the things they will encounter don't even exist, are not even thought of yet. And I can go back into my age. The computers didn't exist when I was in school, and the internet sure didn't exist. But nowadays, how do you feel the Wylie ISD can handle these educational challenges? You start out in kindergarten, teaching children, and when they graduate, there's stuff that they're going to encounter that doesn't even know about. But
actually, we do it right now. We do it very proactively, probably better than anybody in the United States does it. And I say that kind of in a bragging way, but I think it's true. We actually start in kindergarten and we expose kids to careers at a very early age, and we ask them to do a couple of things. Number one, we expose them to a myriad of careers in our region. We do that with career fairs, and actually we are putting together a video series with a PTA where we're going to start capturing on video all of our parents who have careers that someone wanted to seek and work towards, and they watch these on videos with supported lesson plans. And so we create this awareness at kindergarten through 4th grade. And in 5th grade through 8th grade, we actually make our kids knowledgeable. And we, Wylie ISD, are one of the few school districts in the state that actually ask our kids to declare a high school major. And so in grades 9 through 12, they pursue a major in health services, which might be medicine, accounting, business, welding, agriculture. And what they do, and even in education, we had 23 students who are now advancing to the state level on this because they do it for competition. But this was last weekend. But what happens is they get a chance to experience that career. They get to test drive their future, as we call it. And then when they get to this point, some of the kids when they're sophomores, they say, I don't like that career. And we say, well, that's great. Now you've figured out one thing you don't want to do. And so you did it while you're in high school, while you have your parents here, rather than being a high school graduate and going to college and realize you just spent a year worth of something you didn't want to do. And so we said that every kid in Wylie ISD needs to have a plan and a purpose to be prepared for a positive future beyond high school. And that's a board goal, and that's something we're pursuing right now.
Since this recording is being made to preserve the history of Sachse and this area, what would you like to pass along to others who may review this video maybe several years in the future?
I hope that we're the best parts of why the future is where it is, and that what we're doing here now is providing a foundation for what is going to be a successful future for our area. And that our critical decisions, and they are critical right now because we're in a hyper-growth mode, were good ones. And that what they see today is a result of a lot of thought and prayer from us.
I like that inclusion of prayer. I think that's really,
oh yeah,
that's the person I was reading. What do you feel the Sachse Historical Society should do to best preserve the history of Sachse and our area and inform those interested about our community.
I believe you're doing it. Digitally and on the internet is going to be where it's all in the future, and that ability to preserve and protect that and put it on a digital format is the way that everything is going and will go. So I think that you're making a step towards the right direction and capturing these moments before we're gone.
Yeah. Well, that's what we hope. It's hard to get people to go like to a physical museum or a history center or whatever, but it's amazing how many people will watch things online.
Absolutely.
Your predecessor brought this to mind, and the reason we've added this interview question, we have found that many people, Dr. Fuller, you probably knew him, we interviewed him here, and he told us at the end that he had been a professional bull rider and used to race dirt bikes, and I said, I've known him for years, I had no clue he did that.
Well, that's why he has all his surgeries now.
Yeah, he mentioned that too.
But, he might have forgotten that.
But not, having been around him in like an environment like this, I didn't see a Harley sitting over here or something, but so we have found that many folks that we have interviewed have been special places, done unusual or unexpected things, or met really interesting people. What people, places, or things come to mind that you have encountered?
Well, I'm a pretty boring person, and I sometimes worry about that. And I was. It reminds me of a story by, I don't know if you know who Grant Taff is. He was a coach at Baylor, and I was working on a character education program with him, and he told me something that's really important. He said, he asked me what my hobbies were, and I gave him the same story, and I said, I really don't have many. And he said, well, my hobby's my family. And I've spent most of my time and efforts, because this job is so crazy, spending it with my family. And I feel like if I can do that, then it's going to be better spent doing those things. I sometimes worry that when I'm going to retire from this spot and do these things, where am I going to have? And I hope it's then that's going to be my legacy about what people remember me for.
Well, that's hard to beat, putting your family first.
Yeah.
It just really is. Is there anything else that you'd like for us to know about or include in this interview?
Well, I just appreciate you doing it and realizing that the historical nature of where Sachse is and where it's going to be. We're going to drive around here even 5 years from now, and it's going to be a totally different place, and in a good way.
Yeah, it's building up, man. We came here, there's construction everywhere.
That's right. Well, you've made it. There's a Walmart here now, so Sachse has a Walmart.
So LA Fitness.
You got LA Fitness and Walmart, right? That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for allowing us to record this interview, and we appreciate your dedication to the education of students here. And
thank you.